If Machiavelli were alive today, he wouldn't be on a podcast trying to sound smart. He wouldn't be arguing on social media or flashing credentials on LinkedIn. He'd be quiet, strategic, present in places no one notices, and more than anything, he'd be watching. Because Machiavelli didn't just study power, he studied people. The way they lie to themselves, the way they pretend to want truth, but only up to the point where it doesn't hurt. The way they punish intelligence that isn't wrapped in charisma or softened by humility. He saw something very few dared to admit, that the world is not ruled by honesty or brilliance, but by perception, illusion, and fear. And yet, he didn't fall into despair. He created a map, indeed, a brutally honest one, for how the intelligent can survive a world that often rewards mediocrity and punishes insight. This video is not about manipulation. It's about understanding. It's about learning how to walk through a rigged system with your vision intact, without losing your mind, your power, or your peace. Because if you are highly intelligent, you're not just misunderstood. You're targeted in ways you don't even realize. So today we explore, how did Machiavelli understand the game? What did he know about the fate of brilliant minds in a foolish world? And most importantly, how can you use his timeless insights not just to survive, but to rise silently above the chaos? Let's begin. Chapter 1. Intelligence is not a blessing. It's a dangerous gift. Most people think intelligence is a blessing, a key to success, a mark of prestige. But for Machiavelli, and for anyone who's truly awake, it's something else entirely. It's a liability, a threat, a spotlight you didn't ask for. Because in a world addicted to conformity, the intelligent become mirrors, and most people do not want to see themselves clearly. There is nothing more difficult to take in hand, more perilous to conduct, or more uncertain in its success than to take the lead in the introduction of a new order of things. Niccolo Machiavelli, the prince, intelligence forces you to see the cracks in logic, the absurdity of social customs, the invisible puppet strings in institutions. It wakes you up. And once you're awake, you can't go back to sleep. But here's the catch. The world doesn't want you to be awake. It wants you agreeable, consistent, predictable. It wants you sedated by ambition and distracted by noise. This is why highly intelligent people often struggle. Not because they aren't capable, but because they don't fit the mold. They ask questions no one else dares to ask. They doubt systems others blindly trust. And they suffer not because they are wrong, but because they are right too soon. In ancient courts, the wisest advisor was often the first to be exiled. Why? Because those in power fear clarity. And even today, in boardrooms, classrooms, relationships, the same rule applies. The one who sees too clearly becomes the one who must be silenced. So what does Machiavelli teach us? He teaches us that being intelligent is not enough. You must be strategic. You must know when to speak, and more importantly, when to remain silent. Because truth is not always welcomed, especially when it's accurate. Men in general judge more by the sense of sight than by the sense of touch. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. So what happens to the intelligent? They become isolated, not because they want to be alone, but because they must be. They learn to mask their depth, to pretend not to notice, to speak in riddles, not revelations. Because if they don't, they become targets, they become threats, they become the problem. So here's the first lesson for the highly intelligent trying to survive the modern world. Stop expecting to be understood. It's not your job to be palatable. It's your job to be effective. You're not here to win popularity contests. You're here to learn how this system works, and then move through it with such quiet precision that no one sees you until you've already won. Machiavelli didn't fear the intelligent. He feared the ones who were intelligent and patient, so be both. Chapter 2. The world is built for the average, so outsmart it. Quietly. The modern world is not hostile to intelligence. It's indifferent to it. It is not designed to uplift brilliance. It's designed to maintain order. And order depends on one thing: predictability. The workplace wants predictable employees. The economy wants predictable consumers. The culture wants predictable opinions, which means if you're highly intelligent, genuinely thoughtful, observant, analytical, you're a disruption to that system. You don't just see what's happening, you see why it's happening, and that makes you dangerous. He who causes another to become powerful ruins himself. Machiavelli. Most institutions, from corporations to governments to relationships, are not built to nurture intelligence. They are built to extract it. You'll be hired for your insight, but punished the moment that insight challenges comfort. You'll be praised for your talent, but subtly resented if it makes others feel small. So, what does the intelligent person do? They go underground. They stop proving. They stop correcting. They stop making themselves visible targets. Because brilliance doesn't need a spotlight, it needs a strategy. And Machiavelli would say, outsmart them quietly. Don't try to reform the system from within. Don't waste your intellect explaining truths people aren't ready for. Don't reveal your vision until it's already built. Move like a ghost. Speak when silence has weight. Show just enough of your mind to be underestimated, and let the rest stay hidden until it's too late to stop. The world will not reward you for being brilliant. It will reward you for being useful, and then punish you for being too free. So use your intelligence where it matters most. Not to correct others, but to liberate yourself. This is how Machiavelli would navigate today's world. He would never be the loudest, never be the one trying to look smart. He'd be the quiet force behind decisions no one understood, until they were already made. The smart man who speaks too much invites the sabotage. The smart man who listens and waits builds empires. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But Machiavelli never said, you must choose fear directly. He said, you must command presence through consequence, so let your moves speak louder than your explanations. Let your outcomes whisper your value. Let your victories arrive in silence with no warning, no announcement, no need for applause. Because when you are truly intelligent, truly awake, you will realize that clarity is rare, and the few who possess it must protect it from those who will try to dim it, simply because they cannot match it. So here's the modern rule for the intelligent soul. Adapt in public, master in private, and build in silence what the loud never see coming. Chapter 3. The Price of Perception. How the Smartest Become the Loneliest. What happens when you see the world too clearly? You stop belonging to it. Most intelligent people aren't lonely because they lack company. They're lonely because they're forced to hide parts of themselves just to survive conversation. They learn to shrink their vocabulary, to downplay their insights, to suppress their questions so they don't make others uncomfortable. The great majority of mankind are satisfied with appearances as though they were realities. Machiavelli. And when you're not satisfied with appearances, when you want truth, not illusion, you become a stranger in the land of masks. This is the great paradox of intelligence. You understand others deeply, but few can ever understand you in return. You speak with precision. They hear arrogance. You question assumptions. They call it criticism. You offer clarity. They accuse you of being too intense, too serious, too much. So you begin to filter your truth, to hide your brilliance beneath smiles, to wear masks just to fit into rooms where your full self would be unwelcome. Machiavelli saw this in his time, that the more you understand the world, the more disillusioned you become with it. He watched princes surround themselves with flatterers, not truth-tellers. He watched men of vision cast aside by mobs who feared what they couldn't comprehend. There is no avoiding war. It can only be postponed to the advantage of others. Substitute war for truth, and you understand the burden of being intelligent in a dishonest world. Every intelligent person at some point realizes you either adapt to the room or you walk out of it, and both options come at a cost. Stay, and you'll feel numb. Leave, and you'll feel alone. This is the inner exile of the wise. They sit in silence not because they have nothing to say, but because they know how often it will be twisted, misunderstood, or used against them. But Machiavelli didn't despair in this silence. He turned it into strategy. He didn't argue with the masses. He wrote to the few who could understand. He didn't complain about the ignorance of the powerful. He mapped out how to protect yourself from them. That's your task too. You're not here to be loved by everyone. You're here to find and build the few structures that can support your vision without breaking. That may mean long stretches of solitude. It may mean not being seen by the world for years. But remember, isolation is not punishment, it's preparation. And the more you embrace it, the more you master it, the less you'll need others to validate your insight. Because you'll realize this: the intelligent aren't meant to follow paths, they're meant to build them. And sometimes building requires you to walk alone, not because you're lost, but because you're the only one who can see where this road is going. Chapter 4. Power is not loud, it's silent, strategic, surgical. Most people mistake power for noise. They think the one who speaks the most, posts the most, argues the most is the one in control. But Machiavelli would laugh at this illusion. The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. Machiavelli. He knew that true power never announces itself. It whispers, it moves through shadows. It doesn't try to be seen. It tries to be unseen until the moment is right. And this is what separates the truly intelligent from the merely smart. Smart people want to be right. Intelligent people want to be effective. That difference is everything. Machiavelli's world was filled with sycophants, loud advisors trying to gain influence through visibility. But Machiavelli advised those who understood the opposite. Power is most potent when it's invisible. The moment your strategy becomes public, it becomes vulnerable. The moment you speak too soon, you give others the chance to counter. The moment you reveal your depth, someone will try to drown it. So what do the highly intelligent do? They learn to speak softly, not out of fear, but out of design. They master the art of saying exactly enough, then letting the silence do the rest. They learn to weaponize unpredictability, to be warm one moment, unreadable the next. Not to confuse Boreas, but to interrupt patterns. Because as Machiavelli understood, confusion breeds curiosity, and curiosity is a leash people put on themselves. Once they begin to analyze you, they're already orbiting your gravity, and that is where real power begins. A prince must imitate the fox and the lion, for the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. The prince. The modern world teaches you to choose. Be strong or be clever, be loud or be quiet, be direct or be mysterious. Machiavelli says, be both, but never at the same time. To the average world, intelligence feels threatening, so camouflage it. Don't give them something to aim at. Let them think they're leading the conversation. Let them assume they've figured you out. Let them grow comfortable. Then move when they least expect it. This is how you protect your brilliance. Not by muting it, but by hiding it in plain sight. And if you really want to play the long game, don't just hide your strength. Make them believe they discovered it. That's the Machiavellian masterpiece. To plant the seed of perception. And let others water it, own it, and depend on it. Because the only thing more powerful than controlling someone is making them believe they're in control. So remember, you don't need to correct every lie. You don't need to win every debate. You don't need to convince them you're smart. Let them underestimate you. Let them misread you. Let them talk. Then, build while they're distracted and strike when they're asleep. Not to destroy, but to demonstrate. Real intelligence doesn't raise its voice. It changes the game in silence. Chapter 5. Modern Traps. The system will seduce you into weakness. Today we don't live under kings. We live under systems. And systems, as Machiavelli knew, are far more dangerous than tyrants. Because they don't need to threaten you to control you. They seduce you. They offer you comfort, recognition, a title, a platform, and the illusion of freedom so long as you never question the rules. And for the highly intelligent, this is the deadliest trap, because your mind doesn't just crave freedom, it craves purpose. It wants to build, create, innovate, understand. But the modern world offers you a substitute, distraction disguised as opportunity. Algorithms reward outrage. Jobs reward obedience. Institutions reward politeness over perception. And if you're not careful, your intelligence becomes a commodity for someone else's agenda. Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims. Machiavelli. The system doesn't need to break you. It just needs to keep you busy. Busy proving yourself. Busy keeping up. Busy reacting instead of building. It tells you to be productive, but never reflective. It teaches you to succeed, but never to question the cost. It fills your day with metrics and meetings, and slowly, without realizing it, your mind becomes less your own. This is how brilliance is drained, not by force, but by consent. You give it away piece by piece, for status, for safety, for applause. And Machiavelli would warn you. Never trade clarity for comfort, never exchange silence for visibility. Because once they can predict you, they can pacify you. Once they know what you'll say, they know how to dismiss it. So here is the modern Machiavellian insight. If you're intelligent, you must become anti-fragile. That means stop oversharing. Stop seeking approval. Stop playing games where the rules are rigged against you. Instead, build things in private that cannot be censored. Cultivate allies who speak in actions, not slogans. And most of all, protect your attention like it's sacred. Because it is. Machiavelli understood that real danger doesn't come from enemies. It comes from subtle invitations to play someone else's game. You'll be tempted to go viral, to chase recognition, to prove you're smart by being loud. Resist it, because the system will give you just enough validation to make you feel powerful, while slowly taking away your real power. So retreat, observe, watch. Be the man who disappears before the argument, the woman who says nothing at the meeting but changes everything after it. Withdraw from performance. Return to precision. Because the most powerful people today, they're not trending, they're not arguing, they're listening, learning, and moving like fog through locked doors. Machiavelli wasn't warning us against evil rulers. He was warning us about ourselves, about our craving for belonging, our addiction to being seen. But if you can let go of the need to be recognized, you will become unguardable. They won't know where to place you, what you believe, how to stop you, and that, in a world built on illusion, is the beginning of real power. Chapter 6. How the highly intelligent can escape manipulation. By now, you understand. Being highly intelligent in a system built for conformity is not an advantage. It's a liability, unless you know how to use it. And the most important skill? Learning how to escape manipulation before it even begins. Because intelligence without awareness is still vulnerable. You may see the flaws in the world, but can you see the traps in yourself? Machiavelli never warned only of others. He warned of the internal pressures that make us easy to control. The need to be right, the desire to be liked, the compulsion to explain ourselves. These are emotional habits, and the system uses them to bait the intelligent into predictable reactions. You see injustice, you speak. You see corruption, you protest. You see ignorance, you correct it. But in doing so, you become visible, you become expected, you become controllable. So what's the alternative? A wise man ought always to follow the paths beaten by great men, and to imitate those who have been supreme, so that if he does not attain to their greatness, at any rate, he will get some tinge of it. Machiavelli. Let's learn from Machiavelli's path to freedom. Here are the 5 Machiavellian tools every intelligent person needs to master. 1. Emotional detachment as a superpower. Not apathy, clarity. You must learn to separate truth from your attachment to it. The moment you get angry at ignorance, the system has a hook in you. When you're triggered by lies, you become easy to predict. The intelligent must respond, not react. Smile, observe, adjust, move. 2nd, radical discernment in what deserves your energy. Your energy is currency. Stop spending it on debates that don't pay you back. Machiavelli would say, never argue with someone whose loss of truth is their source of power. Instead, withdraw. Speak where it creates movement, not noise. 3. Silence as a weapon. Highly intelligent people often try to explain too much, to show their work, to educate, to help. Don't. Let others misunderstand you. Let your silence confuse them. When you speak rarely, your words gain weight. People lean in, they wonder. They try to read you, and in doing so, they reveal themselves. 4. Ambiguity as a shield. Predictability breeds weakness, so do not let anyone know your full plan, your full mind, or your next move. Be like water, sometimes warm, sometimes distant, sometimes neutral, and always impossible to pin down. If they can't define you, they can't defeat you. 5. Build private. Move publicly. Only once. Modern systems feed on anticipation. They want you to show your dreams before they're born. Don't. Your power is in completion, not intention. Make moves in silence. Only reveal your work once it no longer requires their permission to exist. These are not just tactics. They are forms of spiritual protection in a noisy, manipulative world. You are intelligent. That's not rare. But your ability to remain calm, unreadable, and unattached in the face of deception, that's rare. That's dangerous. That's power. And once you begin to live this way, you'll notice something miraculous. You no longer need to convince people of your value. They will feel it. They will fear it. And they will adapt themselves to your silence. Machiavelli didn't teach us to manipulate others. He taught us how to not be manipulated. Chapter 7. The Machiavellian Map to Inner Freedom. Machiavelli is remembered for manipulation, but if you read closely, you'll realize he wasn't teaching you how to control others. He was giving you the blueprint to control yourself, because the ultimate form of power is not domination over others, but liberation from the traps that dominate you, and that liberation begins internally. He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command. Machiavelli. But before you command others, you must command your attention, your energy, your emotions, your impulses. The intelligent suffer not because they are weak, but because they are pulled in too many directions by their own mind. They see too much, feel too deeply, think too often, and the world weaponizes this against them. You become your own enemy by overanalyzing, by predicting every outcome, by living in fear of being misunderstood or unseen. But Machiavelli offers a map, not to external power, but to inner clarity. Let's rewrite this final map in 6 modern principles. 1. Clarity over noise. You do not need to absorb every opinion, every update, every message. Noise is confusion in disguise. Train your mind to focus on what matters. Ask, does this build me or distract me? If it distracts, eliminate it, without guilt. 2. Move without permission. Most people wait for approval before they act. The intelligent wait because they're afraid to intimidate. Stop waiting. If the idea is real, build it. If the insight is clear, speak it. And if the vision is strong, move without explaining. 3. Don't share until you can't be stopped. Early sharing invites sabotage. You think you're inspiring, but you're often triggering jealousy, doubt, or silent resistance. Instead, build in silence. Reveal only when momentum protects you. 4. Withdraw from unworthy battles. You don't need to educate the unwilling. You don't need to defend yourself to the blind. Machiavelli wouldn't argue. He would observe. He would collect data. And he would strike only when the result was guaranteed. That's wisdom, not cowardice. 5. Master emotional invisibility. Don't let people read your mood before they earn your trust. Smile when you're skeptical. Pause when you're angry. Disappear when they expect you to react. Your emotions are sacred. Stop putting them on display for cheap consumption. 6. Build a kingdom inside before you ever try outside. This is the ultimate truth. If your inner world is chaotic, no amount of power will make you free. So become the architect of your own mind. Design a structure of thought that's immune to noise. Build a throne within that no one can touch, no matter what the outside world says. That's what Machiavelli did, and that's what you're being called to do now. In the end, being highly intelligent is not a gift. It's a responsibility. It's not meant to make you special. It's meant to make you aware and accountable. You were not given insight to be understood. You were given insight to build new paths that others will one day walk, not even knowing who built them. Machiavelli would never have tried to convince the world. He would have written his plan, placed it in the shadows, and walked away, knowing that history would catch up. So ask yourself, are you trying to be seen? Or are you trying to build something that outlasts you? Because in a world of manipulation, illusion, and noise, the most powerful thing an intelligent person can do is to build something real and secret, and then let it speak for them.